It's just a 2-minute countdown. It's yeah, it's like about a minute left. $15 seconds. It does. Hey everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here. Welcome to another episode of Movie News You Can Use of the Dragon Movie Guy podcast. Today we will be going over several big stories in the world of movie news. We will be talking about a rather disappointing box office for the weekend of June 16th. We'll be talking about a major player in Hollywood not quite showing up to Comic-Con 2023 in the usual way. And the question of the day is, how do you out-Rocky Sylvester Stallone? One celebrity in Hollywood managed to do that. We'll find out how. My guest today is a fellow YouTuber who recently passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. Well ahead of me on the way towards monetization. YouTube. Yes. So, well on the way towards monetization. He goes by Davey from the 80s. His YouTube channel is Cinema Chop Shop. That is a great name. Cinema Chop Shop. Davey from the 80s. Please welcome to the channel Davey from the 80s from Cinema Chop Shop. Davey from the 80s, welcome. Oops. Well, first technical glitch of the... There we go.
It's always going to happen.
Yes. Let me just adjust this real quick. I don't know why it does it like the last time I did it, and... Yeah, it's that funny thing of like it's that there's a reason why I'm recording, I guess, as the old saying goes. Sorry, folks. Let's see if I can... why is it doing that? There we go. I think that works, but my apologies.
Well, if there's anybody in the chat, you guys can start posting some questions.
Yeah.
Hi, where you guys are from, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead and mingle a little bit. Let us know how's your day going. What side of the world are you on? What time of day is it? Like, you know, you might be checking in. It might be 2:00 in the morning. Might not be able to go to sleep.
Absolutely. It is 3:00 here on the west coast of the United States, where I'm coming from Vegas. You're coming from LA.
Same. Thank God, same time zone.
Yeah,
it's so hard to link up with people on different time zones. Like,
yeah, well,
especially when they're in other continents.
Yeah, 70% of the population of the United States lives on the East Coast, so we are fortunate for the two of us that we are both West Coast guys. So, thank you for joining me. It's good to see you. Can you see me and hear me and all that good jazz?
Oh yeah, of course. I can hear you loud and clear.
Sweet. And I will pull up the side by side, see if they can see the chat box. Of course, the chat box isn't working, but anyone who's in the chat, please leave a comment, and I will get to you as chats come in. So tell me, Davey from the 80s, tell me about Cinema Chop Shop in a nutshell. I like your channel. It's similar to mine, movie reviews, some movie news. Tell me about Cinema Chop Shop.
So Cinema Chop Shop, long time ago, in the galaxy far away. When I initially started my channel, it was gonna be a strictly horror channel because I'm a huge horror fan. I mean, if you look at all the stuff in the background, you see a whole lot of horror stuff. I got some more cool horror stuff over there. I got like a Jason X helmet. It's all crazy. But anyway, it was initially going to be a horror channel, and it was going to be called The Good, the Bad, and Atrocious. So my scaling system was going to be about like just either the movie's good, as bad, or as atrocious. You know, that was going to be my grading system, and I was going to base my whole channel off of that. So, and I didn't want to put good, bad, and atrocious. It was a long name, so I was like GBA reviews. You know, but then I realized that caused turmoil in the search engine because everybody that searched on my channel couldn't find it because they were finding Game Boy Advance videos. So I had to change my channel name, and the Cinema Chop Shop was my second go-to, and it just had a really good ring to it. It just randomly came to me, and I was just like, Cinema Chop Shop, and I was like, oh, that's cool, like that sounds cool. And I was even going to go at one point I was even going to do what was it? I think it was like classic cold cuts or something. Cold cuts, like Colt, like CULT, Cold Cuts, and it was a play on Cold Cuts. But anyway, yeah, and everybody said that name was dumb as hell. So here I am, Cinema Chop Shop, you know. But I review everything: foreign movies, horror movies, English movies, Spanish movies, Japanese movies. I've done a couple of Bollywood films. You know, I love cinema. Like I watch anything and everything that I could get my hands on that looks entertaining. But the one thing about my channel that I feel like kind of separates myself from a lot of the other channels, I'm gonna tell you how I really feel. You know, I feel like a lot of channels hold punches because they're afraid to either offend somebody or they're afraid that their opinion is going to get them blackballed or is going to get isolated. And me personally, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna tell you, if I feel like something sucks, I'm gonna say it sucks, whether it's an unpopular opinion or not. So, you know, that's my motto. I tell it like it is. I've been talking about movies for years. I was like, why don't I just sit in front of a camera and just do it on the internet so that more people can actually hear me ramble and rant about movies? So if you get a chance, go to my channel, subscribe, and then if you the good juicy ones are usually the rants. I give a good rant every now and then. So yeah.
I love it. And even the name Cinema Chop Shop, it's great because it's, you know, what do? We chop up, discuss, and we discuss our movies and we kind of chop them all up, rearrange them how we want to talk about the movies.
Exactly.
Even if it's spoilers first, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, too, you're right. The cult cut. It almost sounds like you're going to need to eat a sandwich if you're doing the reviews. And then you got like sandwich in your mouth and everything. Why? And I'll tell you again, that was a really good movie. Well,
you got to peel back the layers. Like a good sandwich, you know. So yeah, my wife was like, "That's a dumbass name. Don't do it." I was like, "All right, if you're saying it's dumb, it got to be dumb." You know?
I think you got the high concept right there. Absolutely. Do the also wanted to find out a little bit more about you. Tell me about you. Like, how did you become a movie fan?
So it all started. I was raised by my aunt, and my aunt used to take us to the movies all the time, like to get out of like LA. Because where I grew up in South LA, which is like the more like violent, more impoverished area. Like a lot of more stuff happens there. So she would always take us out of the area to see other areas. It was very important for her to do that. And one of the things that we did almost every weekend was go to the movies, even if it was something that was semi-interesting. We was at the movies going to see it. Sometimes we see 2 to 3 movies in a Saturday. It was just like, it was kind of like a routine for us. So growing up, like all I knew was movies. I was a huge Godzilla fan, still am. Huge Godzilla fan. Mecha Godzilla over there chilling in 2 different posters, but off the camera you can't really see it. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I used to watch the Rubber Suit Godzilla movies. I had a whole drawer full of all the movies on VHS. I think I still got them at my aunt's house too. But yeah, just growing up on that stuff, like just watching movies. I just most of my vacation watching movies. I remember damn near memorizing every line to Rush Hour. Like I can probably recite the whole dialogue of that movie. I could probably recite the whole dialogue to Friday. It's like when I really think about it, like just it's like movies are just a part of my huge part of my childhood growing up, and it's been a part of my life. Like I still go to the movies as frequently as possible, but I am a little bit more reserved now of movies that I actually put money towards. But if there's a movie that I want to support, I'm going to go out there and financially support it. I've done that with many indie movies, many lower budget movies. I plan to do that for Terrifier because they're having a rescreening for Terrifier in the movie theaters. They're throwing it back in the movies, Terrifier 1. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I support them, And then there's a lot of indie movies I watched. Do you watch a lot of foreign movies?
I try to watch a lot of foreign movies. I definitely watch a lot of indie movies. There's a couple of regular theaters here in Las Vegas that show a lot of indie movies. There's the Suncoast and a few others. There's
Suncoast, like the store.
Suncoast. It's actually a casino in Summerlin. It's like the west side of Las Vegas or the western part of.
I'm like, I haven't seen a Suncoast video in forever. Like there used to be a store that used to sell movies called Suncoast.
Really?
Yeah, it was a video store. It was that, and it was always next to a Sam Goodies in the 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah. Now that you're saying it, I remember seeing a couple of Suncoasts in the mall. Like I'm from the Seattle area.
Cinema, like if you wanted a movie and you really wanted to find it, it was probably going to be there. That's where you get your Criterions and box sets and things like that. If you wanted that, you had to go there to get it.
Nice. Yeah, there was a Suncoast. I'm from the Seattle area, and the mall that I worked at, I worked at a movie theater in high school, and
I wanted to work at a movie theater so bad.
It was fun. I mean, it was minimum wage. It didn't pay a whole lot, but all the movies you could watch. And so you were saying you used to do triple headers when you were a kid, triple header movies. What was your favorite triple header that you remember watching as a kid in the theater?
To be honest with you, it's all a blur. But I will tell you this: the movie that I remember, that there's two movies that stand, actually three movie experiences that stand out for me as a kid. One, that waiting in that long ass line to see Spider-Man 1. When the first Spider-Man came out, the opening weekend, that line wrapped around the damn corner, and that was just to buy the tickets at the ticket booth. So that I remember that waiting in the sun, like, is this line going to move yet? Oh my! I just remember being tired, sitting on the floor. It was ridiculous. It felt like we were waiting for like a concert to start. It was that crazy. And another one that I remember was watching Jurassic Park for the first time. When I was a kid, I used to love dinosaurs. I think that was another reason why I used to like Godzilla. And so when Jurassic Park came out, I was like, hell yeah, I got to see this movie. I remember waiting in that long line too to go see that movie, but it wasn't as bad as Spider-Man. And then my last memory is watching Good Burger with my aunt and her. I don't remember this, but she remembers it vividly. She tells me that in the middle of the movie, these two ladies started arguing because the lady's baby was crying, and the lady was like, "Why don't you shut that baby up?" And then they start yelling at each other and fighting and arguing. And I don't remember that. I must have been really into that movie in order not to remember any of that. But that's another low-key. That's another movie that I could probably recite from memory. Good Burger. That's a childhood classic.
I love it. I don't think I've seen Good Burger all the way through. I know I've seen like some of the show, like a few of the sketches from the show here and there, just flipping channels. I actually think I've actually sat down and watched the movie all the way through. Love Kenan Thompson though. Love him on SNL.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people don't know that he's from like Nick.
Yeah,
that. His big breakout was a Nickelodeon show. He was on all that, and he had the Good Burger skit on there. And then he ended up having the Keenan and Kel show with him and Kel Mitchell, which is the dude that plays the other guy from Good Burger, Ed. And then Keenan eventually just did some TV, and then he had a popular TV show, and then that ended up leading him to be on SNL. So
then there was that wild internet rumor that was circling around for a couple of years that Kel was actually dead, and like Keenan had survived Kel, but Kel had somehow died along. And then Kel like popped up and was like, "No, I'm still here."
Right. He's just like low key living on his own, just chilling, Because I remember the last thing I saw him in was Mystery Man. Kel Mitchell. He was Invisible Boy in Mystery Man. That's the last thing I've seen him in. I've never seen him again. He just fell off the face of the earth. But a lot of those Nick stars do that. Amanda Bynes, she's like a cokehead that like ends up walking down Hollywood Boulevard all the time, like drugged out. Like they say, if you walk down Hollywood Boulevard, there's a good chance that you're going to run into her doped up.
Wow.
So it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, some of those headlines this last week, I didn't include those headlines on her just because it's kind of sad. It's like a lot of the Britney Spears headlines. This is sort of like it's a little sad at this point. Like it's not like oh, Britney shaved her head. Now it's like moving
but
on.
You could have been internet famous. You could have had your own "Leave Britney Alone," but it would have been from Amanda Bynes. Leave Amanda alone. You know?
Yeah, it's like
could have did it.
Leave Britney alone. That's the only time I'm going to be showing myself like this on my 2 shots and 1 shots of my guest. That's my main thing. But leave Britney alone. All right, that's enough of me. Yeah, leave Amanda alone. Let her run her. Yeah, let her do all of her stuff, her recreational use alone. So what are your? So you said you're into foreign films. What are your favorite foreign films to watch? Are they from a particular style? Or are they from a particular country?
I'm glad you asked. No, no, but seriously, I mean, like last year we were on a real big Spanish kick, and then before that we were on a huge Korean kick. So my first introduction to foreign film, like legit, it was I watched Old Boy. Have you seen the Korean Old Boy?
No, I've seen the Spike version. I haven't seen. I've
that
not
shit
seen
is whack. Fuck that movie. Can I cuss on your channel? I'm sorry.
I prefer in general not, but yeah, if you know, feel free. If
now, I'm gonna respect your channel. F that movie. That movie is not good. It doesn't represent the movie at all. There's only one element in that movie to me that really made more sense than the original. There's just one thing. I don't want to say what it is because I want you to really experience the original for what it is. They're actually remastering the original and they're putting it in cinemas for a little bit. So if you get a chance to see it, I think it's going to come out in like a month or so. I'd say you go experience it at the movie. The original Old Boy is amazing. But if I have to get somebody started on a foreign movie trend, you have to see I Saw the Devil. I Saw the Devil is a freaking amazing movie, right? Like that is one of the dopest revenge movies I've ever seen in my life. Like it's really good. Do you mind if I give you like a quick little synopsis?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who's the director and what country is it from?
It's Korean. Don't know the director, but I know that the main star that is in Old Boy, the Korean one, he's in that movie. The reason I even know this is because I have a friend that's like he's in anime, he's in all this other stuff, and he goes, "Man, you need to watch Old Boy." And I'm like, "What is Old Boy?" And I'm just like, he's like, "Man, just watch it." I'm like, all right, whatever. So I found it at we have a used movie store like in my vicinity, and I found it for like $5. Like, all right, cool, whatever. Bought it, took it home, watched it, blown away. Amazing movie, right? So I was like, "Yo, I saw that movie." He's like, "Oh, you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "There's a movie even better than that." Oh yeah, what's it called? I Saw the Devil. All right, tracked it down, bought it off of Amazon, comes to the house, watch it, blown away. Amazing movie. The synopsis of that movie is there's a murder that happens at the beginning of the movie, and there's the girl that's murdered, her brother is a detective. And what he ends up doing is he wants to find the man that murdered his sister, which he does, but then he enacts revenge on that man. And it's this crazy just game of cat and mouse. I want to just give you a little bit of it because I want you to understand how crazy this movie is. He basically tracks the guy down and he puts like a tracking device on him. He whoops his ass, like he beats him almost to death. and then he fixes him up, and the guy wakes up and he's like all better again. And then he's like, wrapped up, and he's like, "Okay, I'm out of here." And he leaves. And then basically everywhere he goes, the guy keeps meeting him wherever he's at, and he keeps like engaging with him. So, and then it's a good movie. Like it's more than that, but that's just like kind of like a little bit of breadcrumbs in order to get you suckered in. But it's a crazy movie. There's an amazing cinematic moment in the back of in a taxi car where there's like a really cool turnaround camera effect. The cinematography is top notch. But that's one of my favorite movies. Go ahead.
And who's the director of that one?
I don't know his name. I honestly, God, I don't know his name. Because I know that Park Chan Wook did Old Boy, but I don't know the director for I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, I've just started getting into Korean cinema the last couple of years, and I'm not like I can't claim to be like really really into it or anything, but ever since Parasite came out and won Best Picture, that was sort of like my entry drug into the Korean cinema, and so
I
much
have to
more is
ask
coming
you,
out the last couple of years. Train to Busan and so
Train
many
to Busan
more.
is amazing. That's the top. That's hands down a top 5 zombie movie of all time. And I'm not even I'm not BSing at all. Like to me, that might be a top 5, top 3 zombie movie of all time. Train to Busan is amazing. You've seen it, right?
Yeah, parts here and there, but it was sort of one of those where I was like trying to catch up on it, but it was like, late at night and I kept
Now
nodding off.
sit down and you gotta park your ass right there. you gotta sit down and like watch that. That's an amazing movie. That's almost like a top 3 zombie movie to me. That's a zombie movie that makes you feel, and that's rare,
And that brings up the next question I have for you. What is it about horror films? What is it that horror films that you love so much?
All right, so it all started now. No, but seriously though, when I was a kid, my sister used to have us. Some of my best memories were us watching horror movies during October. Like I loved it. Like any channel you flip to, you're gonna find something. You're gonna find Halloween, Friday the 13th, Exorcist, Leprechaun, Candyman, Nightmare on Elm Street, everything. And it's just an integral part of my childhood in the month of October and watching those movies. Like it was always like every October we watched the horror movies on TV, and then it became a thing. When I became a teenager and an adult, I just kept it going by in the month of October. Whatever cool horror movies come out, I'm going to go see it, And also, it's just thinking about it, like just thinking back, like how terrifying Chucky was to me, because I thought toys had a life of their own and they're going to come out of nowhere and butcher you in your sleep. There's that. And then also, another one that got me was Nightmare on Elm Street. Like how going to sleep, the sleep demon is going to get to you. Like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I remember my neighbors lying and saying that it was real, and that if you didn't leave candy outside your house, that he was going to get you. And at the time, I never even seen the movie It yet. Like, it's just the idea of it, like a killer clown, just freaked me out. And I remember I was so freaked out that the neighbors had a party. The neighbors had a party and they invited a clown. And as soon as I'm hanging out with the neighbors, I'm talking, this clown walks up like, "Hey, everybody." I screamed and cried and ran home because I was like, not today, Satan. I got out of there as quick as possible. But the one movie that probably messed with me the most was Candyman. That movie was crazy. Just the fact that you can utter some words. Because like I said this in one of my videos I did about it, but we all heard the urban legend of Bloody Mary, right? But you never had anything to visually connect it to. You just hear it's hearsay. But when you watch this movie and this person says Candyman 5 times or 3 times, whatever it is, you literally see what happens to them afterwards. So you kind of get a visual. So it always freaked me out. Like I was afraid that if I said his name just too many times, it didn't even have to be in the mirror. If I felt like I just said the name too many times, like I felt like he was going to come around the corner and gut me or something. But I don't know. It's just the adrenaline rush you get from the horror movies. And me, honestly, I would love to one day just like, I want to write a horror movie one day. That's one of my goals. Like I want to write either a horror movie or write like a horror story or something. I want to get something out to the world horror related. I want to make my mark. But one of the craziest ones was watching Tales from the Hood with my sister. I don't know if you've ever seen Tales from the Hood. Nah, man, that's a Black community staple. Tales from the Hood is like, it's an anthology, and each story is like it's like a horror story, but it features like an all Black cast and or majority Black cast. And it's like one is about the zombie dude that dies. He gets killed by police officers, come back to life or whatever, gets back at the people that killed him. One is about this abusive father that is like, gets what he deserves at the end. The other one's about this dude that basically ends up in like limbo because of all the bad things he's done because he's a gang member. And it's a lot of like social commentary in the movie. Like when I was a kid, I was just terrified of it. But I recently watched it for one of my segments on my channel. I try to do in the month of October when I could get through the whole thing. I call it In the Month of Madness. Have you ever heard the movie In the Mouth of Madness?
No, haven't heard the movie. No.
Okay, so there's a movie called In the Mouth of Madness. So my play on that was In the Month of Madness. So that's the reason I named it that. And it's a very popular movie by a very famous director that his name is evading me at the moment. I want to say Wes, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I'll remember it.
Oh, Ty West?
No, Wes Craven. I want to say it's Wes.
Oh, Wes Craven there.
I think it is, but I could be wrong. or it's Carpenter. It's either Carpenter or Craven. But anyway, I remember rewatching Tales from the Hood, and I haven't seen this since I was a kid. And rewatching it, like from an adult lens, and you're seeing all of the themes and all of the things that are talked about, it really kind of resonated with me more. I was like, dang, this movie was way deeper than what I was like understood. I couldn't understand it as a kid, but the messages that are conveyed in the movie are a lot more deeper the older you get. And it's crazy too when you see that some of the stuff in the movie still resonates today, even though that movie came out in the 90s and those were 90s issues, so and then that spoke a lot to me because I grew up in those type of communities. So yeah, this is definitely a must watcher if you have a opportunity.
So are you an aspiring filmmaker then as well? I mean, you're in LA, you're in the film capital of the world. Are you currently writing any scripts, or we live in an era now where you can literally shoot a film on your iPhone now. So are you doing any film production on your own?
No, I haven't. But like you said, you could do it on the iPhone, which the movie Unsane did. Have you ever seen Unsane?
No, heard of it, but I haven't.
Yeah, that's a movie. I think that movie was completely shot with iPhones, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, well, one of my relatives, brother-in-law, actually, he just bought some recording equipment for something completely different. And we were just shooting the shit, talking one day, and I was just like, hey, we should make a horror movie. And he was just like, well, he was like, bring the script, and like, I'll help you with it if you want. So for like a while, I was researching, looking up different things and looking up effects and things like that. So I'm just kind of looking at what it is, and then I have a mental image of what I want, but I haven't put like fingers to keyboard and type something out yet. But I have a mental image of what I want. But I have a series of different characters that I've created in my head, not in my head, but I have it on paper. Like what I tend to do is I'll write like a quick like synopsis of what it is in my head, and then I'll collect images of things that I want incorporated into that character. And recently, I was gonna hire this young digital artist, very talented. I was gonna hire her in order to kind of bring that to life, so that I can actually have it like on like a professional picture versus like, oh, I just took some Google images and then did a little Photoshop and like did a little like the little Mickey Mouse did. I wanted to look like professional, like. This is legitimately what I want it to look like. So I have many ideas in my head. I really want to put something down on paper. I have a story that's similar to Candyman. I think it has a lot of potential if it's done correctly. So I'm just gonna keep it going. I'm gonna try to, once I get ready and I feel confident, I'm probably gonna release a series of short horror stories first, and then hopefully one of them could get picked up for maybe like a movie, because we've seen that, because Candyman was a short story and it got picked up. The Black Phone, that's a short story that got picked up, and then we're seeing short movies get created into full-length movies like Piggy and Lights Out and
The Blackening that's out, that just came out last weekend. That's
one
of
The
them.
Blackening, which Flash should have stomped in the box office, but hey, we'll talk about that later.
That is on the docket, yes, for sure.
Yeah, so,
in fact, I like your description of an aspiring filmmaker hiring a digital artist, who then every character the digital artist creates comes to life and starts killing people. That's one of the great things about horror films. All you need is a good high concept and a decent execution. You can have a pretty decent film, I think.
I got some decent concepts. I just need to stop BSing and bring them to life.
Yeah. Well, Davey from the 80s, thank you for letting me get to know you. Still working on the punchline, but yeah. So thank you for.
No problem.
Let's jump into the headlines, shall we? Our first headline of the week is a rather disappointing weekend across the board for June 16th. A lot of movies came out last weekend. Not a lot of people went to go see them in theaters. Big one, though, was The Flash. The Flash was projected to make $70 million. Took home 55. All the way across the board, we have Disney failing. We have My favorite one that I was looking forward to was The Blackening. That took $6 million down at the box office. And
how much was that to make?
What was that?
What was the budget for that film?
That I did not look up. It couldn't have been very high because it was based off of a YouTube short film. I love the YouTube short film. The feature film was all right, but it was more horror than comedy, and I was looking forward to the comedy horror. But looking at the totals here, Elemental came in short of 30 million. It was at 29 million. Spider-Man at number 3 was at 27 in its third week. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, 20 million in third, and Little Mermaid rounding out the top 5. Oddly, Disney releasing 2 animated movies back to back for some reason, wanting to compete with itself, but just across the board, just surprisingly bad box office. Does that surprise you at all?
Actually, the biggest surprise box office wise is The Flash, to me. Now, the Elemental thing, I saw Disney pushing it a whole lot, and they've been talking about this movie, and you've had a lot of people go see early screeners to this movie and talk about how great it is and da. And you can tell that these are the people that are trying to like sheep the masses in. They're like, hey, come on, guys, follow me to the promised land to 800 million or more. You know, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to shepherd the audience into going to the theaters and buying it. But at the same time, I mean, it's crazy that a kids movie failed. It's really crazy that a kids movie failed. But at the same time, Elementals came out the same weekend as The Flash and The Blackening, correct?
Yep.
So
all 3 were new last week.
Yeah, I think it was a bad idea for all 3 of them to go against each other because they're splitting the box office numbers. I think that they should have just kind of did it on their own. But out of all the movies, I really feel like The Flash should have been able to pull that out because, one, it's a superhero movie. I mean, all those we feel like we have moments and spurts of superhero fatigue. What ends up happening? You have a freaking Guardians of the Galaxy 3 making 800 million. You know, you have a Thor making almost like $1 billion. You know, like you have these movies come out and then blow that idea way out of the water. And these are movies that people are predicting that aren't going to be that good, but then they turn around and do a whole lot better than people expected. Like I don't think anybody thought Guardians 3 was going to make 800 million. Like I sure as hell didn't. But back to what I mentioned earlier. Blackening had a budget of about 5 million. So 8 million ain't that bad. I mean, if they can at least double it by the time it's out of theaters, I think they'll be in the green. So I think it's really important to kind of look at the budget in regards to how much they take home. So like example would be Terrifier. Terrifier, they made it with a couple $100,000, like let's say like a couple $100,000, but they took home 15 million. You know, that's a huge green for them because you're in a couple of $100,000s and you made 15 million. You know, on paper, people are gonna be like 15 million, that's nothing. But when you look at it, when you compare it to the budget, all of that is keepsake. They're keeping all of that. So, I mean, The Blackening, before it leaves the theater, I think it's going to at least double or triple its money.
And that's the great thing about horror films from a business perspective is if you get that one central idea and then have a cast of really cheap young actors, you don't have to make that much money at the box office. And as we're seeing, like we saw with Megan, and we saw with Smile, like good young filmmakers over-delivering on a horror film concept with a really simple concept, better execution. And if it makes 70 or 80 or 90 million on a $5-10 million budget, then you're going to have sequels galore.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing about horror movies that drives me crazy is that they don't know when to quit. They don't know when to quit.
When the money stops.
Well, exactly. They're taking Fast and the Furious took a page out of horror. They're like, hey, look, they ain't stopping. They making all this money and they ain't stopping. We ain't gonna stop either. We're gonna keep dishing out these horrible movies that started off about cars and they're not about cars anymore. But let me go back to the Flash.
The
reason to me why Flash was so disappointing was because superhero movies tend to make money, right? On top of that, you have the nostalgia factor with Michael Keaton. He was advertising the commercial, you know, and then you have also the backbone that this is one of the most popular DC storylines out there, like comic book wise. This and Killing Joke are like the most popular among DC comics. Like those are like the most popular story. If you tell people like, hey, give me like your top 5 stories in DC Comics, Flashpoint is probably going to pop up in there and on most people's top 5. So it's kind of crazy that this movie was not able to resonate with the audience. And we have to ask ourselves why. And I think the biggest reason why is because it's either Ezra Miller, right? All of the things that he went through and nobody was willing to support him, which I don't blame people for it. You know, he did some heinous things. And then you also have the people upset that James Gunn was hired and basically kind of this was the end of the road for the old DCEU. And people were feeling like, what's the point of me going to see this movie if it's just going to end the universe? Like, this is the end of the road. Like, what's the point of me even going to see this? Or we have the Snyder fans who want Zack Snyder's movies to continue, and they have band together and boycotted this movie because, you know, their money matters, you know. So those are the only 3 things that make sense to me.
Snyder fans. I don't know what it is, but like Snyder fans are sort of like soccer fans. Like if you don't like, if you're not a huge fan of like I'm a baseball fan, but if you don't love if you hate baseball with the passion of 1,000 suns, I'm like, all right. But if I tell soccer fan that I don't like soccer, they get all offended and stuff. So I think Snyder fans are sort of the same way. Like I love 300, but Watchmen. And the whole
I liked Watchmen. I didn't like Sucker Punch, and people get mad about that.
Actually, I was the opposite. Like I liked Sucker Punch, but I did not like Watchmen. But
I mean, hey, that's your opinion, man. That's why
we're
here.
That's true. That's why we all have our YouTube channels. Absolutely. Yeah. Now you, if I remember right, you did your review of The Flash, and you were not a big fan of The Flash. Am I right with that one? Like,
yeah, I was highly disappointed. I expected a lot more. Like, I expected a more cohesive film. It was too many empty spaces for me. Like, if you're going to make this type of movie, I feel like the storyline should compel you from beginning to end. And I felt like it didn't do that. The beginning is terribly boring. The middle is like the most interesting part and my favorite part. If you could just chop out the beginning and the middle and chop out the beginning and the end, like cut it out and just give me the middle, I'll probably say this movie is an A+. You know, but that's not what we got. You know, we got a boring beginning, an awesome middle, and a terrible ending. And I just wasn't a fan of it, you know.
I see what you mean. I actually did really like this film, which is unusual because I really do not like the Snyderverse as a whole, mostly because it is so dark and depressing. And as a guy who grew up in Seattle, dark and depressing is around you 300 days out of the year. So, but I actually did like this one because it was more hopeful. But I see what you're saying. Like if I remember right, your review, you teed off on the CGI. And CGI is a major pet peeve of mine.
Those damn babies. I'm sorry. Yeah. Those babies and that dog, and then you have to remind us of how bad the CGI was with the dog at the credit scene. I was like, no, come on, man. Like, no, like this. Why?
And maybe it's just because my standards for the DCEU couldn't be any lower. So when a movie comes out that isn't half bad, maybe that's me like being overly excited for, yay, it didn't suck, and the CGI was only kind of bad. But versus if this was a Marvel movie, if anything was in there in a Marvel movie that was off, I'd be like for example with Wakanda Forever, the animation on Namor's
oh my God, that
feet.
coffin scene. People got mad at me for pointing out how ugly that coffin scene was.
Yeah.
That was the ugliest damn coffin. Like, dude, you sent Chadwick Boseman off in PS2 graphics. That's what we doing? Like, I was like, that reminded me of like Vigilante 8 Second Assault. Like, I'm like, what are we doing here? It was terrible.
And just Namor's, the wings flapping on Namor's feet in a really bad Mercury impersonation. I was just like, oh, come on, Marvel. Got to do better than that. But if that was DC, I was like, well, that actually doesn't look too bad. Just because my standards for DC are so darn low that I'm like, ugh. But I think I gotta preface this too. I saw The Flash at CinemaCon. I got to go to CinemaCon, so that was like the big like, well, I just saw The Flash first, and I saw The Flash
You
where
need to talk.
Celine
I need to
sings.
find out
Ha
how to
ha
get to
ha.
CinemaCon. I want to find out how to get in there. Because don't you have to be like, how do you? Because I thought at first it was only for people that own like theaters, but then I've been slowly seeing like other people kind of creep in.
It is unless you know a member of the media, which is how I got in. So, yeah, all basically, yeah, it was media passes and covering it for a bit and agreeing not to release any official releases. But then again, like the John Campea show, right after the showing, John Campea, I didn't even shoot. I normally do on my channel, I do instant movie reviews where it's just me and my cell phone. Yeah. And I didn't even bother shooting an instant movie review because they're like, we'll take your media credentials away. Yeah. And I on my way home, I had John Campea going in the background, and John Campea was doing a movie review of The Flash that had just finished showing. Like, people were still filing out of Celine Dion's theater at the Coliseum there. So
yeah, I know a couple of people that went there and they reviewed it as well. So
yeah, I guess that me and my
I think that only applies if you crap on the movie. I really feel like that's what it is. Like, I feel like if you praise the movie, they're gonna be like, all right, free publicity is better than no publicity. Let's go. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Keep it up. Don't ban them. But like, if you were to crap on the movie, like let's say I saw it and I gave my honest opinion, like the one that I gave in my review. If I would have did that, they probably would be like, oh yeah, you never come back to CinemaCon. They're gonna have my face on the wall. They're gonna be like, this guy is not allowed. If you see any Cinema Chop Shop merchandise, do not let him in there at all. Like, he's banned. I probably won't even be able to go in there like when there's no CinemaCon. They'll just ban me from the building. But yeah.
You never know. Casino security is always sort of a fickle thing. Let's move on to our second story of the day. Interesting a little bit on this one because I've never actually been to Comic-Con. Have you ever been to Comic-Con?
Nah, I haven't really been interested in going, to be honest with you. But I mean, it might depend on the guests that go. Like, I'll mostly be there for vendors and maybe like guests. I don't really find the whole like waiting in a hallway full of like stinky, musty people, like waiting to see like a trailer for, I don't know, freaking the Marvels or something. Like, I can't see myself like sharing a hallway with a bunch of, because look, man, I'll be honest with you. You've been to conventions, right?
I went to one Star Trek convention back in the 90s, right when Voyager was coming out. But other than that, I haven't been to any big conventions.
Okay, well, the hygiene in these conventions is very low. So you're going to run into a whole lot of people running on Listerine bottles and no brushing and armpits with no deodorant and the same underwear with the same stains from yesterday. Like, it's bad, man. It's a lot of stinky people that go to these conventions, and I personally don't feel like sharing a hallway with them side by side, shoulder to shoulder, waiting to see a movie that I'm probably not even interested in watching in the first place.
So I guess you will not be disappointed then by the fact that the Wrap is reporting that Marvel Studios is going to skip Hall H at Comic-Con 2023. Marvel last year was announcing a ton of stuff. They were announcing the end of Phase 4, Phase 5, and Phase 6. They announced a couple of Avengers movies. But with the writer's strike going on this year and productions being shut down and dates being shuffled, and they already announced a couple of date changes for Captain America 4, for Avengers 4 and 5, or Avengers 5 and 6, rather. And they even moved up Deadpool 3. With all of that going on,
Deadpool's still filming, like even with all the stoppage, right? I heard that they're still moving forward with filming.
Yeah, they started filming in middle of May, which is really weird because considering how much Ryan Reynolds, how much improvisation Ryan Reynolds does as Deadpool, that really does amaze me because theoretically they can only be shooting the written word as to what's on the page right now. I mean, now granted, with Deadpool's mask, you can see the mouth moving, but you can't really see what the mouth is saying. Yeah. So I guess that could be really easy to fix with ADR. But
But which Marvel title, like we're talking about Hall H, all right, which title would have headlined that? Like, is there anything that would have blown people's socks off? Like, that's what I'm thinking about. Like, you have the Marvels, you have Deadpool 3, you have the Thunderbolts, you have the new Captain America movie, and am I missing something else?
Well, that's part of it. Is they bring everyone
Oh,
up on this.
Blade.
Yeah, Blade. Like they announced, they brought out Mahershala Ali, Comic-Con 2019. We're still waiting on the cast announcement for Fantastic Four, so we probably would have gotten early scenes, images from all of those films, from Captain America 4, with with the Sam Jackson show that just started on Disney Plus. We probably would have gotten a couple of scenes from later in the season. Also, yeah, and you're right, Marvel's coming out later this year. Captain America 4 casting news, probably somewhere a little bits of all of those, I would guess, given how big that Marvel is with traditionally with Comic-Con. So the fact that there is a presence there this year, the article in the wrap didn't say what that quote unquote presence would be. But Hall H is the big one. That is
I think they're just selling stuff. They said they're going to have a presence there. I think that means like they're just probably going to be selling merchandise, maybe, and that they're just not going to be like occupying the actual physical space to like show movies or something.
Yeah, as opposed to Kevin Feige actually being there with the stars of the films and stuff. That one really did surprise me, just given that Comic-Con 2022. Was so huge with the announcements, because coming out of the pandemic and everyone glad to be back. It really does shock me that Marvel not going back this year. I mean, writer's strike makes sense. No one wanted to cross picket lines, makes sense. But
other studios pulled out too, right?
The mileage they get out of going there. Like, I've never been to Comic-Con, but I love all of the Comic-Con panels that make their way onto YouTube. So even if you're not physically there, you actually, as a fan of Marvel, as a fan of these characters, you can still, you can still absorb all the material by watching it on YouTube, reading about it online. So
there's a lot of Comic-Con coverage. Like, that's a big thing for a lot of people. They like sit down, and as the announcements are rolling out, they're kind of just covering it live. So that's a big part of the YouTube, and that's kind of putting a lot of dent in people's channels too, because they won't really have anything to report on. But also, Marvel wasn't the only studio that pulled out, right? Didn't some other studios pull out of some of the?
I think so. The article that
Sony and something else, right?
Yeah, the article that didn't mention the article that I read did not mention which ones, but I think I remember seeing some headlines as to others dropping out, just because no one wants to cross a picket line, and then so it's troubling times. But it is surprising to me though that Hall H is so competitive to get in. It's so expensive to go to Comic-Con. So the fact that the biggest comic book cinematic universe not showing up to Comic-Con, that does kind of grab my attention a little bit.
Well, there's reduced tickets, I wonder.
Yeah. The poor scalpers. The poor scalpers, like $3,000 for a ticket, like $20 in a fruit roll-up or something now.
Fruit roll.
Next topic is sort of an interesting one, and we're talking about this a little bit before we started. I like the Lord of the Rings movies. I am not a huge fan, though. I think of the fanboy in me is moderate towards all of the Tolkien stuff. Like, I love superheroes more than fantasy, so I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not a huge like. I'll watch it day one when it comes out in theaters, but this is a headline that was sort of interesting. A Swedish company named Embracer paid $396 million for the Lord of the Rings rights. That's film, that's TV, that's internet, that's toys, that's everything. This particular article did not have the long term, like it didn't say 5, 6, 7 years, however long it is, but spending $396 million on Lord of the Rings, especially on the heels of how much Amazon paid for that Lord of the Rings series.
Show. Yeah.
Are you surprised that the Lord of the Rings franchise got $396 million just for the rights to produce content?
That seems like a steep price tag, but I mean, with everything in the world, it seems like the price of everything is going up. So I'm not surprised with the price tag, but it really just depends on what you plan on do with it. So like, if they do this and then they do absolutely nothing but put out some toys, then this was pointless. You know what I mean? Like, you better utilize this to the best. You better put out comics, you better put out toys, you better put out series, you better make a theme park with a freaking Lord of the Rings attraction. Like, you need to try to utilize this as much as possible, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to end up in the red. You know, like this, you don't want this to end up being a stupid investment and you just invested in something based off of the name. But once you got it, you're like, well, damn, what are we gonna do with it? Like, we got it now. So what are we gonna do with this? Like, you know, it's I would need to know their long-term plans with whatever they like with the property. Because right now, unless they have like a real like a plan from the, if it's a temporary like holdership, I need to see the plan from like now until when you lose it, because then it's gonna make sense to me. Because like right now, I can't with the fresh off of the hills of the show. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, what are they going to rent it out to Amazon or something? We own the rights now, Amazon. We know you got deep pockets. Pay us now. You know, we're the stakeholders here now. So unless they're just trying to like, oh, we just going to like milk Amazon out of as much money as we can and then try to make all of our money back through Amazon, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like, are they just going to do like Frodo Chia Pets and yeah, I mean, like, what are they going to sell? They better have some sort of an idea after spending that much money, because on one hand, though, $396 million just on the face of it sounds like a lot, but considering that Disney paid $4 billion for Marvel and $4 billion for Star Wars, Lord of the Rings in some ways at 10% of that amount.
Yeah, I can't see Lord of the Rings, Marvel and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Those is like, man, that's apples and oranges. I could do a whole lot with Star Wars. Like, you know, I could do a whole lot with Star Wars. There's a whole lot of stories to tell that many people will be very, very happy to hear. As we've seen, like, you know, I mean, even though people aren't really happy with what we got with Star Wars, including myself, but that's a conversation for another day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, Obi-Wan was trash. I'm just gonna say that now. Yeah, so it's plenty of things that you could do with it. Lord of the Rings, on the other hand, like, that's a very niche like property, and I it's a very small community that you're going to try to sell this product to. So whatever you choose to do with it, you better do it big. Because I mean, I would probably reboot the whole damn series and just put them back all in theaters or something, because I don't know how they're going to make their money back. Like, that's a lot of money. Unless you open up a theme park, you just have Hobbit Land or something, you know, like the Shire, you know.
Yeah.
I can't see it. And I believe that this company, the Swedish company, just bought a comic book, right? They own.
I think they have Dark Horse Comics, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, that alone tells me like you ain't got much on your resume to show me that you know what you're doing with these properties. It really just feels like you're just like, if I have an opportunity to buy a big name, I'm gonna do it. And you just like, oh, that sounds like a good thing. I'll buy it. Like, you know, probably ended up in a bidding war, and they kind of just like threw all their chips in the pot and then won. And now they're just sitting here with the property and they're like, all right, anybody got any ideas? Funko Pops? Anything? Records, vinyls? What are we doing here?
That would make a lot of money. Funko Pops are everywhere.
Yeah, but they definitely split in the profit, though.
That's true, too. Well, you know, Funko's got to make some kind of money off that, too.
Funko surprised me when they bought, what was it? Yeah, Zavi surprised me and Funko surprised me. Funko bought Mondo, which to me was crazy because I did not see that coming. I didn't even know until I got billed by Funko, and I'm like, wait, I just bought a vinyl record, and it's saying Funko. Like, what do you mean? Like, why is Funko billing me? And I found out that Funko bought Mondo, and I'm like, okay, that's a smart move. And then I found Zavi bought Arrow. That's the
corporate.
reason why. That's the reason you've been seeing so many box sets on Zavvi for Arrow releases because they bought Arrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Corporate. I mean, we got Discovery buying Warner Brothers. Everybody's buying everyone else.
And it's crazy too because a lot of them Arrow releases, like at least last year, a lot of them were defective, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to send you guys a replacement disc for this because we found something wrong with it." A lot of them.
Oh,
because Donnie Darko had one. I got 2 replacement discs. I got Donnie Darko and I got Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Those 2 got replacement discs, but I know I've seen more than that. It felt like every release had a replacement disc. Every one of them.
But, corporations, get your act together.
Right.
Neither one of us are huge Lord of the Rings fans, but if you had to pick a Lord of the Rings character that is your favorite, who is your favorite Lord of the Rings character? Or if you could create a Lord of the Rings character, who would you create as a character for you? Who would you play in a Lord of the Rings film?
Dude, all right, look. So I did used to play the Lord of the Rings video game. I did play that. And the reason we played it is because it was like a multiplayer thing, and the idea of like all of us fighting at one time was pretty cool. And we used to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and like we all had our superheroes that we picked, and we used to do that. But I used to be I was always the elf because he was a marksman, like he was the one that used the arrows. So I'm always a fan of like bow and arrows. So I'll probably pick an elf or something because they're the archers. So I don't know if you can make me a black elf or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we could. I think I'll rock with that.
Love it. Yeah, like I haven't given it any thought myself. It's always fun to cosplay a little bit and to kind of role play and do that thought experiment of like, well, if I were in a Lord of the Rings movie, who would I be? Like, I have no clue who I would be. But,
speaking of cosplay, if I ever get this digital art thing and I can find somebody to do some stuff, man, I'm gonna try to cosplay as one of my own characters. That'll be cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I just thought about it right now. I was like, damn, that'll be cool if I could just cosplay as my own character. But yeah,
love it.
You got me thinking now. Thanks.
Now, would you be the main character or would you be a background character? Like be like George Lucas in the background, just sort of like walk through a frame kind of thing.
If I was like, if I'm in my own horror movie, like I'm not one of those type of people. Like if I envision a person to be like this big tall dude or something, like I ain't tall, so I gotta find somebody that's tall that fits the bill. I mean, either that or we're gonna have to do some Clint Eastwood stuff, and we're gonna have to like bring the doors down, and you're gonna have to give me some stiletto boots, and I gotta look taller than what I really am. Like, I mean, there's ways around it, but because that's what they did with
Tom Cruise and
the
Robert
orphan
Downey Jr.
The orphan First Kill. In order to make her look like a kid, a lot of the cast members were wearing like shoes with like platforms like yay big, so that it always made her look smaller than what she was. So yeah, so I would have to probably do something like that, but I don't know. I never really thought about it, but I mean, if it's my movie, I'm probably going to be in the killer or something.
That's the best way to. They've always said that like the best way to cast yourself in a movie is to write yourself into the cast to where no one else can play the character except for you. So
yeah, Tarantino casting himself as a man smelling feet, so he lived his best life.
That's true. Tarantino writing himself in his own films. Yeah, that is it's fun, but it's also it's a whole other thing. He
has a hell of a foot fetish too. It's just crazy.
Yeah, especially when you see Jackie Brown and the way he's Bridget Fonda's feet are shown off in that film.
Even in the Robert Rodriguez movie,
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn, yeah. Didn't he like lick the chick's feet, or he drank something off of her foot or something?
I think so. Yeah, that whole film is a little bizarre with the Harvey Keitel and Juliette Lewis, and then it switches halfway through. And
yeah, Tom Savini was in that movie with the freaking pistol wiener.
Yeah.
I met Tom Savini. Tom Savini's really nice though. He was cool.
I love. And that is one of those films that's another one that needs to go on the list of rewatches because I haven't watched From Dusk Till Dawn from Big 10 in quite a while, so I definitely need to rewatch that as well. Going on to our number 4 movie, or our number 4 story for the day. Do you watch a lot of Netflix?
Yeah, but I was surprised that all right, so like we got the cheapest Netflix. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I was not happy about this tiered system. I'm not happy about the ads and all that stuff. So we got the cheapest one, right? And we were trying to watch. I haven't watched. We didn't. I haven't watched this movie before. So A Man Called Otto, the Tom Hanks movie.
Yep.
Never seen it before, but I've seen. We've seen the poster, and I was like, oh, Tom Hanks. I like Tom Hanks. My wife loves Tom Hanks too, so she was like, yeah, we should watch it. So we watching it, and then like when we're about to click it, there's a lock on it. And I've never in my life seen this on Netflix. There's a lock on it. And it basically was saying that Netflix is, I didn't know this, but like certain movies are locked if you have the cheapest tier for the thing. I didn't know that. I thought it was just you just had to deal with ads. That's all I thought. I was like, okay, you just deal with ads, whatever. And like a little bit like smaller quality, like I don't know, it's like 1080p or something. I'm like, whatever, I can deal with that. Like, but it's crazy. They lock certain movies if you're in the lowest tier. Like if you were not paying at least for like their second tier system, they lock movies.
Well, I didn't realize that they were doing that. I mean, but Netflix is doing all kinds of weird stuff nowadays, trying to get more revenue, and also the thing that they're changing that they changed this week that made some headlines is that Variety is reporting that Netflix is updating how they report their viewership numbers. Because they in the past they've just done how many minutes were watched, and now they're going to include a few more metrics because when you're talking movies, you know what the box office is. That's verifiable. When you have television, you have Nielsen ratings. When you've listening to the radio, you have Arbitron ratings, and with Netflix and all the other streamers, but Netflix is the biggest streamer, let's be honest, they've been very vague with, and they release their top 10 each week, but they're like, 1 billion minutes watched or whatever it is, but they don't really say, there's not a whole lot of easily quantifiable, wrap your head around the numbers sort of thing. So
it's just a number. It's just like, hey.
Yeah. So do you like that they're adding extra statistics now, and we're getting to see like they're doing just simple math and dividing
by how
total minutes by runtime to give an estimated. Do you like the extra metrics that we're getting here? And does that help you? Does it help? Like, to me, it helps a little bit. Does it help you wrap your head around how many people are actually watching these shows? Like Wednesday kind of got bumped up above Stranger Things season 4 for the past week because of this, because of runtime and yada, yada, yada.
Honestly, like, the only thing that I like is that from what I looked into, they're starting to separate it too, right? Like, they have like a top 10 foreign thing, and then they have like the English one, and they have like different categories now. Like, it's not just like, just in general. Right? If I'm not mistaken, that's what it is.
I believe so. Yeah, they're across the board. Like this particular one that I have a screenshot of is most popular TV in English. So
yeah, exactly. And then one is like most non-English or something. Right.
Yeah.
So that part might help me because that way it makes it easier for you to pick something that might be popular but not in your country. Because look, as we're YouTubers and we're in the United States, most of the stuff most of our viewers we watch are also in the United States, and then most of our friends are also in the United States. So a lot of the stuff that they rant and they rave about are things that are from the United States, because we have not broken out of this bubble of like really watching shows that are subtitled or foreign. Like the only compromise that we've gotten are movies that are subtitled. I thought that I was under the impression that Parasite was going to break this bubble, but it didn't. Like, I don't know if it's because they didn't strike too fast when the iron was hot or what, but I really thought that Parasite was going to break this bubble, but it didn't. So that part helps me out because now I get a better idea of like, okay, this is what's popping all over the world, or what the world is watching, things that are not involved in the United States, So that's the only part where it really helps me. I really don't give a crap like about what everybody else is watching in English, because all you have to do is just log on to social media and you'll see what everybody's ranting and raving about. We all know that everybody likes Stranger Things. We all know that everybody's watching Black Mirror. We all know that everybody's watching Squid Games because it was hella popular, And I mean, you can really tell the popularity of Wednesday. You can tell the popularity of something because now you're starting to see the merchandise in the store. It's really easy to tell when something's popping in America because you see it everywhere. America capitalizes on that as soon as it becomes a trend. It becomes trendy. Everybody's talking about it. Once you see little kids walking around with it, it's a wrap. It's over. That's what it is. You know that's on the top 10 list once you see kids having it. But they need to finish up Stranger Things, or this. I think that this next Stranger Things season is going to bomb, low key.
Well, and they're all like, all the kids are now like basically
Adult.
ready to go off to college, right? They're all like 35, 40 years old at this point, it seems like.
Right? They're about to have kids, everything. Yeah. They're about to start families.
Grandparents now, they're their own grandparents. Does having these extra numbers help you decide what to watch on Netflix?
No, in regards to like English movies, no. Maybe foreign movies, yes. I think that's the only way it's gonna help me. English movies, not really. I kind of just the feature that I appreciate on Netflix is when it recommends something based off of my watch history. I find that more useful than like the top 10 list, because a lot of the times, dude, these shows don't really live up to the hype, right? So let's see. I remember at one point a lot of people were ranting and raving over what's that damn movie, The Babysitter Killer Part 2. And I liked the first part, and I watched the second part and it was horrible. You know, like it's just because something's trending and something's in the top 10 and a lot of people are watching it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. You know, that's why it's good to kind of like watch the trailer, kind of vibe off of it, maybe read the little synopsis. If it's a TV series, watch an episode, see if you could dig it or not. You know, there's been plenty of times where something's been recommended that is top 10 list, and we'll watch an episode and be like, you know what, this ain't for me, and I just check out and go do something else. Well, the recommended feature is usually the best one I go to.
It's interesting too that you point out. I did not realize that there was an accessibility thing with Netflix now for movies like A Man Called Otto. I did see A Man Called Otto in theaters a couple months ago. It's good, but it really should come with a trigger warning because it's the most depressing Tom Hanks movie I think I've ever seen.
Oh, at the beginning of the movie, it says this movie, it talks about suicide and this and that. So like, you know, you might want to like ease up, you know, if something that's going to bother you, you might want to just turn this off.
Yeah, the way they handle the subject matter is, it's not quite how they handled it in It's a Wonderful Life. You know, well, It's a Wonderful Life. Theoretically, it's dealt with at the very beginning, and Clarence and Zuzu's pedals, but we don't have Zuzu's pedals in A Man Called Otto.
I gotta ask you, since we're on the topic of A Man Called Otto, are you a crier? Did you drop a tear?
I did a little bit, you know.
I dropped a tear, dude. They put the damn. I was gonna say Maxwell, but it's Kate Bush. It's Kate Bush's song originally. That Woman's Work song with the freaking bus scene. Oh. You got that singular Native American tear, man.
One. I think, you know, part of it too was I was so surprised that Tom Hanks was playing an Ed Asner type character. Like he was so persnickety and he was so like kind of thing. Like he was so curmudgeonly the old man sort of, like he was basically the old man from Up. And the fact that he was so determined, even after the nice family moves in, and he was so determined to
be a douche.
That part doesn't surprise me. But he was so determined to carry out his goal. It just, in spite of everything and all the impact and getting to know everybody, that part did surprise me a little bit that like they stuck with that part of the storyline and there wasn't a happy ever after kind of an ending. I mean, it makes sense.
I saw it coming though. Like the ending, I definitely saw that coming. And I believe, isn't that the one that played the younger him? That was his son, wasn't it?
I believe so. It wasn't that. It wasn't Colin Hanks. It was
Truman Hanks.
Yeah, because it was the one that.
I was like, did you know that was him? I'm like, damn, he looked like a chubby Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, like it's the son that doesn't really look like Tom Hanks as much as Colin Hanks does.
How do you feel about these children getting into acting? You know, we got Denzel Washington's son, and like, you know, like I'm talking about them big name ones. Like we've always had sons and daughters in Hollywood, but it's really rare that you see like superstars, like big names in Hollywood. Like their kids finally kind of like breaking out. Like Denzel's son, like I said, and then now Tom Hanks' son is starting to make his rounds as well too.
Well, it's a tough road to hoe because I think that's like anything else. You can get your foot in the door, sure. Like if you have the famous last name and your dad is whoever.
I would change my last name in a minute. I'm sorry. I'm going Stephen King's son route. That's how he made it. He called himself Joe Hill. He was like, I am not about to be compared to my dad. I am something else. I'm Joe Hill.
It worked for Nicolas Cage. He didn't want to be known as a Coppola.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
And I think it goes both ways though, because when you have the family name, you can get your foot in the door, but then you better damn well perform.
You got some shoes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, like, even Gwyneth Paltrow, her dad was the creator of the Today Show. Drew Barrymore, of course, the whole Barrymore family, Lionel Barrymore, John Barrymore, all of them, the Fondas, like every.
He's a talk show host.
Yeah, this is true too.
Like,
but yeah, they it could be hard, but it's if you think about the sports world too, that can be tough too, because it's all about performance, and if you don't perform well. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's son did not get a basketball scholarship. So
Michael Jordan's son never made it to the NBA.
Yeah, and if you're going into the family business as it were, and you're good but not great, like if you're like an all conference at a high school sort of thing, but you're not going to good enough to go pro.
I feel sorry for LeBron's son. I'm just saying that off top. His son is about to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's a wrap. That last name, and it's crazy because they know this, and that's why they call him Bronny James. They don't want to call him LeBron James Jr. because that's automatically a road for failure, So that's why they keep calling him Bronny.
That's such a tough name to live up to. But then again, Ken Griffey Jr., your dad's in the big red machine, one of the best baseball players in the entire century. So it's if you're good, I think if you're good at whatever it is, whether it's acting or baseball or basketball, whatever the activity is, if you're all-time great, it's still hard, but it's never easy, I think. I mean, it's easier because you get your foot in the door, but you better perform, otherwise people are going to jump on you. Even Jamie Lee Curtis, being the son of Tony Curtis,
and her mom being the legend in Psycho.
Yep.
But you hear that Denzel Washington's son learn how to act. All right, I just have to get off my chest. I'm sorry.
Well, and it's funny because yes, his last name is Washington, but I didn't realize because he doesn't sound like he doesn't sound like Jay Farrow doing a Denzel Washington impersonation, which is probably smart.
What's crazy? He used to be a backup running back for the Rams.
Denzel Washington was?
No, Denzel Washington's son was a backup running back for the Rams.
John David Washington was? I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know he played football because I was like, who the hell is this guy? And it was like, oh, he used to play, he got drafted and he was on the Rams or something. I'm like, really?
He's not a particularly big guy. But then again, running backs aren't linebacker size most of the time.
Yeah, sometimes they're small. It just depends on what you need, like what you need them to do, I guess.
Not everyone is Derrick Henry, I think is probably.
Or the bus, Jerome Bettis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So wrapping up our fifth and final story for the week. How do you out Rocky? Well, if you're spending $50 million, $58 million to buy Sylvester Stallone's house, might as well throw in the Rocky statue that's around the swimming pool.
That's the reason you're going to buy the house.
Yeah, so it was announced last year that Adele had bought Rocky's house, but Sylvester Stallone came out in Entertainment Weekly and talked about how it came down to the deal breaker. And everyone has deal breakers. You have deal breakers at work. You have deal breakers in relationships. You'll go so far, but no farther. And for whatever reason, Adele buying Sylvester Stallone's house, she wanted the Rocky statue. And there's actually a picture of it here from the article. This right here, I don't know if you can see this. This Rocky statue on the edge of this giant swimming pool. And this was what Adele was willing to walk away from the house, from Sylvester Stallone's mansion in L.A., if not for this particular statue. What's interesting is Sly Stallone was trying to sell this house for a while, and $58 million might sound like a lot, but when you're asking for $100 million plus, clearly he was settling downward. So I don't know whether this was Adele just trying to out Rocky and try and get, just some random statue. Because does the statue really even have that much value if Sylvester Stallone doesn't own it? I have the Rocky statue that used to be owned by Sly Stallone. So I don't know. Like, would you?
I think that's.
If you had the opportunity in the cash, would you try and get the Rocky statue if you're buying Sly Stallone's house?
If I really wanted, yeah. So look, if I wanted Rocky's house, I'm definitely asking for the statue because, I mean, what's the point of buying his house without I bought Rocky's house. How do I know? You point to the pool, it's there. Like that's your proof, you don't have to. Okay, yeah, you valid. Okay. But like imagine him taking it and be like, well, there used to be a Rocky statue right there, Like I think that keeping the statue there kind of what's the word I want to say? It keeps his history there. Like it's a piece of its history, and therefore it stays there. It's like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like a historical event that happened somewhere. Like it's like the crack in the Liberty Bell. Like they never tried to fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like if it's a part of history, then just leave it there where it's at. Because if I'm buying somebody's house and there's like an integral piece to the reason, like because she has to be trying to buy his house for a reason because she's a fan of his. You know what I'm saying? Like so that's the reason why she wants to keep it. That's what I think. I would want to keep it.
It's weird too because like I didn't some of the pictures were in the article. I didn't get all the pictures. I just wanted to get the picture of the statue. But if you widen out the picture a little bit, Adele is ripping apart the entire house. So she's doing a multi-million-dollar down to the studs remodeling, rebuilding, whatever it is. She's doing major remodeling work. So the fact that's sort of interesting is that she's not just keeping it as a giant homage to Sylvester Stallone. She's spending lots and lots of money. But the fact that she wanted that statue, I just part of me is kind of like, okay, it's a statue, but that's a little baller though. I do love the ballerness of it. Of like, you're Sly Stallone, you're Rocky. I want your Rocky statue.
Right? It's like keeping the belts. Like I want the belts. It's like buying Tyson's house and he's getting ready to take the belts off the wall or something. Like no. Keep the belts. I need them there as a memory's sake. Like keep it there. But we also don't know how she plans to renovate. Maybe she's gonna make like a cool little ring kind of theme in the pool room. Like that'll be pretty dope if she did it. Like she surrounds the pool with like a little velveteen rope or something. Like like make it look like the corners. Like hey, you never know. I'm just saying. Like she could probably make that room a whole like Rocky theme or like Philly sweaty gym theme or something. I don't know. Like we don't know what's going through Adele's mind. But I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be some player.
So if you had a spare $100 million, just burning a hole in your pocket, if you had a spare $100 million and you were buying one celebrity's house anywhere in the world, whose celebrity's house would you buy and what would you insist on keeping of their property when you buy the house?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Like the easiest target would be like anybody sports related and then tell them to keep their trophies. Like, that's like going to Vanessa Bryant and be like, here, I want your house. Keep all of Kobe's memorabilia, like that would probably be my first go-to. That's probably going to be my first go-to. Like, I'm going to Kobe's house. I want all of his memorabilia, all them trophies, rings, all of that. Keep it in the case. I'm buying a house, but I need that to stay in there. Like, if that's it. Movie stars, I don't know if anybody has like, I don't know. Go by Mike Tyson's house and tell him to keep the tiger.
Yeah, like for example, if you were going to buy Skywalker Ranch, would you insist on keeping R2D2?
Oh hell yeah, dude! That's like me buying Neverland Ranch. I want the monkey too. Like, dude, give me Bubbles. You tripping? Like,
That's a whole other thing. Like, buying Neverland.
I want the giraffe. We keep the Ferris wheel. All of that stuff. I want all this stuff to be here. It'll never be open, but I want it to be here just for keepsake.
Now, would you remodel Neverland Ranch if you bought Neverland Ranch, or would you keep it the same just out of morbid curiosity?
That's a good ass question. I don't know. I would want to keep it like I would probably have to take a walk in there and see what he has like already established, and then see if it's something I can do to amplify that and make it look like more Mike-ish. But I don't know. Something inside of me wants to just knock it down and build like a fake ass Disney World.
Yeah.
And then put like Neverland Ranch in like the Disney font. I don't know. Something inside of me wants to do that, but I don't know.
In the same way that in the same way that oh crap, what's his name? That in the same way that Elon Musk just blew $30 billion buying Twitter just for the hell of it.
Yeah, that's board money.
Why? Why?
You just sit on the toilet like, I'm gonna buy Twitter.
Yeah. Why the heck not? Why not buy Neverland Ranch and do whatever you want to do with Neverland? Why not buy the Playboy Mansion? Why not buy any one of these major, like, why not buy Hyannisport from the Kennedys? Like, why not buy any one of these major properties?
Buy the grassy knoll.
Oh. It's true too, yeah.
Nah, I'll probably buy like an old haunted hotel or something. Like that hotel that had like the lady that drowned in the top, but they found her in the water tank. You buy that and then you throw ghost tours.
Oh yeah, and I actually just watched that documentary on Netflix a couple weeks ago. Actually, yeah, that hotel that has some weird stories to it. Have you watched that documentary on Netflix?
Yeah, I think I reviewed it too. It's somewhere in my long catalog of reviewed movies. I think I reviewed that too.
That was a freaky one. That is one thing I've been watching a lot more of lately is true crime. I haven't done any reviews on it on my channel, but true crime.
I like listening to the murder tapes, like when they do like Ted Bundy tapes and things like that. They need to do one for Ed Kemper. Have you watched Mindhunters?
No, I have not watched that one.
Okay, so look, Mindhunters is on Netflix. I'm warning you now, it's only 2 seasons, and I don't know if there's ever going to be a third. But if you're into true crime stuff, watch Mindhunters. That is a fantastic show. It's about the psychological unit of the FBI that was created to like kind of to like ID serial killers. Like they did like the psychological like analysis type thing, and then kind of like profiling, the psychological profiling of serial killers. So like it was really cool. It's kind of based on that. The 2 dudes that kind of started that unit up. That's really, really good. That's nice. A good show. And the dude that plays the dude that plays Charles Manson, I believe is the same guy that was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but this time he actually gets like talking, and he gets to actually like embody the character. Amazing. The dude that plays Ed Kemper, amazing. The dude that plays what's that fool's name? Son of Sam, amazing. There's a couple.
Ramirez, not Ramirez.
Richard
Ramirez. Berkowitz, that was
it. Yeah. There's a couple of them in there, like, but the actors do freaking fantastic jobs. There's even they were kind of hinting at the BTK killer, but like he hasn't really like surfaced yet. But he was
the one that I was watching, and actually I ended up rewatching it. It was that good. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the Golden State Killer one. With Patton Oswalt and Patton Oswalt's wife, like that whole story, because it's the story of finding the Golden State Killer, and it's the story of Patton Oswalt's wife, and just the way that whole thing is produced is it's some amazing storytelling. It's not just the true crime, but it's a huge part of it too. It's just
what's it called again? I want to put that on my
I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's on HBO Max. It follows Patton. Patton Oswalt. So the voice of Ratatouille. He was on The King of Queens.
He's on he was on King of Queens.
He's a major.
I was about to say the Drew Carey show.
Yeah, a major stand-up comedian, and his wife in real life was a true crime podcaster, and she brought attention to what she dubbed the Golden State Killer. And so it kind of follows the whole true crime niche, the niche of true crime podcasts, and it's this whole thing, and you see I don't want to spoil it, but the storytelling that they do in this documentary series, it's like 5 or 6 episodes, kind of building up the case and building up her as a figure in the true crime community. And it is probably my favorite. I don't want to say favorite, but like the storytelling that's done as a documentary series in I'll Be Gone in the Dark is so well done and so heartbreaking across the board.
You know what I'm surprised hasn't had a movie yet? The Walshes. The man that made what is it called? His son was killed, and he made
America's Most Wanted.
America's Most Wanted. The Walshes.
Yeah, John Walsh. Yeah,
John Walsh. Exactly. I'm surprised that we haven't got like a movie about it. So I think there might be a movie about it, but I'm surprised we haven't had like a legit like movie about it, because his son was basically killed by like 2 very infamous serial killers. And
the story of building up America's Most Wanted and how many bad guys they've put behind bars in the 20, 30 years that's been on the air.
That'll be an amazing series. If it doesn't already exist. If it doesn't already exist, it might exist already, but
it's so hard too, because like that's like one of those like, do you do a feature film, or do you do it's such a ongoing, well told story that and then is that it's such a fascinating subject. True crime. It's when done right, it's great. And
the Dahmer show was amazing. The Dahmer show was done really well.
Yep. And then the Bundy tapes one on Netflix is really good too.
I didn't like the Bundy with what's his face, the pretty boy. What's his name?
Not Zac Efron was.
Yeah, Zac Efron. Yeah, Zac Efron did. I didn't like it.
Well, that was the Dahmer. He did Dahmer.
No, Zac Efron did the Bundy one. Zac Efron did the Bundy one, and the dude from American Horror Story, Evan Peters, did Dahmer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they all kind of bleed together after a while.
Nah, I was surprised at Zac Efron. I was surprised at Zac Efron, because Zac Efron was like the little stripper pretty boy, like he's the heartthrob. So I was surprised, like, oh, him Bundy, but then Bundy was kind of considered a heartthrob. But I just didn't like the. I thought we were going to see Bundy's life, not Bundy in prison and trying to prove that he was innocent and that stuff. Like I kind of wanted to see what they did with Dahmer, like they did a lot of jumping back and forth with Dahmer and things like that, but it told his whole story. And Bundy, you got like glimpses and pieces of it, but I felt like it was kind of like it was just incomplete. I'm still waiting for a really good Ed Kemper movie. Like I think that would be a hell of a one, because Ed Kemper had a crazy IQ. Like he was intelligent as hell. And when you hear his interviews and him talking, you could just hear it in him. Like he's really smart and he knows exactly what he does. And he's just like, and he talks about how, like after a while, it just became like that. He says serial killers get like this mindset where they're just testing their invincibility. He was like, you get this idea that you're God. And he was like, so you're constantly testing this invincibility, or you're constantly testing this theory that you're God. So you do things that a normal person, that you feel like, you put yourself in situations where you feel like a normal person would get caught. And when you don't get caught, it just kind of like strokes that ego and it makes you feel like, yeah, I guess I really am God, But I'm waiting for him to get one, because he's very intelligent and seems really self-aware. It's crazy. Well, and he's, like I said, the actor that plays him in Mindhunters, fantastic. That's why I really think you should watch that show.
I definitely wanted to put on my list. And then the final thought, my final thought on it is, there's another one on Netflix that is about a guy who claimed to be a massive serial killer. Like he claimed that he had like killed 300 people. And he was behind bars for murder. He was on death row, and the guy was just one of those serial liars. And it's almost comical at a certain point where he's like, oh yeah, I murdered those people, and I murdered those people.
It reminds me of that show that came out on Apple with the dude that plays Stingray and Cobra Kai. He was also Richard Jewell.
And that's another one. Yeah, the Olympic Park bomber from '96. Yeah, that's
what is his name? Hold on, I'm gonna tell you.
And Richard Jewell was innocent.
Yeah, this was a good show though. Hold on, I'm gonna find you the name.
Okay. Yeah.
Of that show, but that was a good one. That was a really good one.
It's amazing how many good stories that have been told based off of some really seedy material. But
it's called Blackbird. That's a good show. Okay. It's on Apple. Nice. That was a good one as well too. That was a really interesting one. I was stuck to the screen watching that one. That was good.
Definitely something to put on our rating list. But also wanted to give you the chance to talk about what do you have now coming up next on Cinema Chop Shop? What are you working on your channel?
I want to do my Saturday live streams again. My Saturday's live streams are called Chop It Up. So you get it, Chop It Up, Cinema Chop Shop. Yeah. No, but anyway, yeah. So
goes well with the true crime.
Right. Chop it up. Yeah, today we're going to talk about Ted Bundy and how he chopped people. No, just chopping it up about different movies and movie news and things like that. I want to get back into that. I did like a few episodes and then I kind of just got busy and things happened and it just didn't. Like it's hard to do Saturdays because we do things on Saturdays and like coming home and live streaming it's just like so I want to do that. I mean, as far as like any movie news that I feel like is worthy of me talking about, I'm gonna do. If a trailer, I don't like doing trailer reactions really because I feel so fake doing like all that. I can't do it. Like I'm not fake like that. So if you watch my trailer reactions and I'm sitting there looking at the screen like this, it's because I'm truly analyzing the trailer. Like I'm not trying to like be fake. Like I feel like if I feel like I'm like, oh my god, did you see that? Whoa, did you? Like I can't do that. Like I'm sorry. You're not going to get that on my channel. Like with a trailer reaction is not going to happen. You might get a very hysterical laugh though, if it warrants it. But I mean, you occasionally, if a good trailer pops out, I might react to it. But mostly it's just movie news and movie reviews. The movie that I've been putting on the freaking back burner on reviewing because I really want to do A Man Called Otto because that was a good movie and to me it deserves a spot like with a review on my channel. Because I really enjoyed that movie. And then also, have you seen Nefarious?
I have not, no.
Have you seen the movie The Boondock Saints?
Parts of it. I've seen parts of Boondock Saints too, but I've not seen the first one.
All right, one of the actors in that movie is in this movie, right? And this movie is I saw the trailer and I was like, dang, that looks interesting. But do I want to pay to watch it? It was one of those things. I was like, do I really want to pay to watch it? So I had the opportunity to watch it for free because it's now on home media. So I had the opportunity to watch it for free. And I watched it. And this movie actually surprised me. I feel like it's one of the most underrated, under the radar movies of 2023. It's not talked about at all. And the lead actor, who's one of the dudes in Boondock Saints, does a freaking fantastic job. And it's not easy because the movie's is like in a small setting. It's not much movement. It's not going all over the place. It's mostly in one room. And most of the movie is taking place between two people. And the movie is very dialogue driven. It's two people talking most of the movie. Nice. But the thing about it is the dialogue is so interesting that it makes it it captivates you when you watch it. The synopsis of the movie is that the psychologist has to go to the prison to basically deem if this person is sane enough to be killed, like executed. And what happened was the previous psychologist dude died or whatever. So he goes in there and this guy is claiming that he's a demon or he's the devil. And he's like, yeah, whatever. I heard that shit before. You're just trying to play it off like, you're crazy, whatever. Like you're just basically not trying to get the needle. Or in this case, you're not trying to get electrocuted. Yeah. But as the conversation continues, he just keeps like pushing this idea that he's really a demon, and he gives him this thing, and he tells him like, before the end of our conversation, you will have killed 3 people. And he's like, get the fuck out of here! I'm not going to kill 3 people. Like I'm not like you think you're going to control me. And it's just the conversation throughout the whole movie, and this demon or this person psychologically picking at the psychologist. It is such a good movie, man. It's underrated as hell. That is literally one of my sleepers of 2023. It's
What's the name of it again?
Nefarious.
Nefarious. All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was a good one.
Good to have on the list for sure.
You don't have a list messing with me. I'm gonna end up. I'll throw your laundry list.
Absolutely. Well, we should definitely talk more about doing some more lists, especially now that we're getting halfway through 2023. All those halfway through the year lists are about to come up, so maybe we should do another video on our favorite movies from 2023 so far. So
that's gonna be hard because I haven't liked much. My list gonna be my top 5 is gonna be more like a top 2.
Love it. Thank you for coming on, Davey from the 80s. Cinema Chop Shop is the channel. Any other things you'd like to plug on your channel before we go?
Not necessarily. Well, actually, yeah, I got a video dropping tomorrow. It is the most overrated horror movies. Me and one of my guests, 7 Feet Under, we had this discussion about horror movies that we feel were overrated. Some of these picks might rub you the wrong way, so there's a trigger warning right now. Some of these picks you might surprise you, so go ahead and check in that video, tap in, let me know what you think. It'll be premiering tomorrow. I'll try to be in the chat to interact with you guys if I have the opportunity to. If not, drop a comment or something like that, and I'll get back to you when I get back to you.
Absolutely. And what's the name of the video?
I believe it's called Most Overrated Horror Movies of All Time. That's what it is.
Love it.
Most overrated horror movies of all time. So that way we encompass the old movies and the new movies.
Most overrated horror movies of all time is the video. Cinema Chop Shop is the YouTube channel. Davey from the 80s has been my guest. Thank you for coming on. And one last check on the chat.
My subscriber, Miss T /moderator, came by to say hello.
Yay. Thank you for stopping by. What was your favorite headline of the week? Let us know in the comments section after the live chat. Live stream is ending here. So thank you, everybody. And I will see you all next time. See you, everybody.